Hey, you ever feel like you're just swimming in this sea of digital content?
Oh, absolutely.
Pictures, videos, sounds. I mean, it's just everywhere.
It really is.
Today, we're going to maybe give you a bit of a life raft. Try and chart a clearer course through this whole world of multimedia.
Yeah, without the tech overwhelm, hopefully, just get you the essentials.
Exactly. Think of this as your, like, express ticket to understanding multimedia.
And we're drawing on, a mix of things, intro concepts, some practical software examples, even discussions about it.
Right. Our goal here is really to pull out the core knowledge, what you need to know about multimedia today.
What it is, how it
And your
works.
tools, maybe some surprising bits too.
Definitely.
So let's just jump right in. What exactly is multimedia at its heart?
Well, fundamentally, it's the blending, taking two or more different kinds of media.
Okay.
So text, picture, sound, video, that sort of thing.
Right.
And the key thing, really, is that this mix is designed to enable interaction.
Interaction, like between people.
Yeah, between people or between us and the machines, the technology we're using.
You know, it's funny how much we encounter it without even thinking.
Oh, constantly.
Scrolling your phone, browsing websites, using apps.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically all multimedia, right?
Pretty much, yeah. It's so deeply woven into, well, everything digital now.
But it's more than just like throwing pictures and sound together.
Exactly. There are some key features, these characteristics, that make multimedia actually work effectively.
Okay. Like synchronicity. That was one you mentioned. What's the deal with that?
Synchronicity it's interesting because you really notice it when it's wrong.
Oh, yeah.
Think about watching someone speak, but their lips are out of sync with the sound.
Ugh, drives me crazy.
Right. It instantly feels wrong, makes it hard to focus. So unsynchronized media, it just disrupts the whole communication flow.
Totally. That little glitch just throws everything off balance.
Yeah.
Okay, so how does integration sort of build on that idea?
Integration takes that alignment, that synchronicity a step further. It's about how all the different bits, the video, the sound, the text, work together to express one single unified message.
Ah, okay.
Imagine like a video showing a really happy scene, but the music playing is super sad and slow.
Yeah, that would be confusing.
Exactly. The messages clash. Good integration means everything pulls in the same direction, reinforcing the same idea, makes the impact much stronger.
So they're telling the same story, just using different senses. Makes sense. Okay, interactivity. That's something we totally take for granted now.
We really do. Interactivity is that back and forth, the user and the multimedia piece.
Like pausing a video.
Yeah, the simplest example. Hitting pause, rewinding, changing the speed. Your actions directly affect what's happening.
Okay.
And think about games, the whole experience is interaction.
Sure.
And the user interface, how it's designed, that's really key to making the interaction feel smooth and natural.
Right, it gives you a sense of control within the media.
Yeah.
Then there's digitalization. That feels, well, pretty fundamental these days.
It absolutely is. Digitalization is just the process of converting everything text, photos, sound, video into digital files.
Not brief.
Yeah. So computers can actually process it, store it, manipulate it. Think about even a drawing you did by hand.
Okay.
Scan it, and boom, it's digital data that computer can understand and work with.
So translating it all into computer language. Got it. And the last one was immediacy.
Immediacy. Yeah, or you could call it real-time processing. This is really about how time-sensitive some multimedia is.
Like online stuff?
Exactly. Think video calls, instant messaging. If there's a big delay in the audio on a video call, or your messages take ages to show up.
It's useless.
Pretty much.
Right.
It really reduces the value, the effectiveness of that communication. For anything happening live, immediacy is crucial.
Wow, okay. Those 5 features, synchronicity, integration, interactivity, digitalization, immediacy, they really give a good picture of what makes multimedia tick. So where does all this content actually come from?
That is a great question. And the sources are pretty varied.
Good.
You've got the traditional ways like scanning physical photos or documents,
Sure.
recording audio and video, with cameras or just your phone, downloading stuff from the internet, free or paid.
That covers a lot of the basics we'd probably think of first,
It does, but then there's also a huge amount that people just create themselves.
like digital art or home movies.
Exactly. Original music people make, videos they shoot and edit, and then you have the whole exploding area of AI-generated content.
AIGC. We hear that acronym all the time. How's that fitting in?
Well, what's really significant about AI here is how much it can potentially streamline the whole production process.
Streamline how?
Take something like product photography. Traditionally, that's studios, lights, models, lots of editing afterward.
Right, a big production.
Yeah. Now, AI can generate pretty realistic product images. It can handle the lighting, the background, even retouching, often way faster and cheaper.
Yeah.
And we're seeing similar things starting to happen with art, music, even video generation.
So AI is looking like it'll be a major source for multimedia content soon?
It definitely seems that way. The sources we looked at suggest this trend is only going to speed up. AI tools still have limits, of course, but
But they're getting better fast.
exactly.
Hmm.
Their ability to help out with or even replace traditional ways of making media is constantly improving. The sources even mention specific AI platforms for multimedia will be covered in related courses.
Definitely makes you wonder about the future of creative jobs. But,
Yeah.
okay, let's shift slightly. All this digital media, it has to be stored somehow, right? In files.
Absolutely. Everything ends up as digital files. And different media types use different file formats.
Formats, okay.
These formats often use different ways to compress the data to make the files smaller, basically, which affects the size and sometimes the quality.
Like JPEGs for photos?
Perfect example. JPGs use what's called lossy compression. They lose a tiny bit of data to get much smaller files. PNGs, another image format, use lossless compression, so they keep all the data, but are usually larger.
Okay. And for audio? MP3s.
MP3 is the common one, also lossy. Wavy files are often uncompressed, bigger files, but higher fidelity, higher quality sound.
Those are definitely the ones I see most often.
And then you get interesting cases, like MIDI files for audio.
MIDI, what's different about those?
Well, unlike a WAV or MP3, a MIDI file doesn't actually contain the recorded sound itself.
No. Then what does it have?
It holds instructions, like sheet music for a computer. It tells digital instruments how to make the sound, what note to play, how loud, for how long.
Huh. So it's like a recipe for the sound, not the sound itself.
Exactly. We'll get more into audio specifics later, but it's a neat distinction.
Very interesting. Okay, so with AI getting so involved in creating this stuff, how does that change how we appreciate it, or even how we make things ourselves?
That touches on a really fundamental point, doesn't it? About the value we put on art, on creativity.
Yeah.
If, a lot of the music or images we see in the future are made by algorithms, does that change how we feel about human-made art?
It's like if a song was just spat out by an AI, does it hit the same emotionally as knowing someone poured their heart into writing it?
That's the core question. One source used this analogy of music just becoming background noise if it's all AI generated.
Background noise.
Yeah, like we might stop really listening, stop appreciating the little things, the rhythm, the way musical phrases connect, the clever harmonies.
The human touch, maybe?
Perhaps. The elements that make it a rich artistic experience. That's why the sources really stress needing to combine tech knowledge with humanities and arts understanding when learning about multimedia, so we get the why and the how it feels, not just the how it works.
Right, nurturing our ability to appreciate, not just consume or produce, technically. Okay, makes sense. Now, to actually do anything with multimedia, watch it, listen to it, we need equipment, right? Tools?
Absolutely. Different media need different gear, both for making it and for playing it back.
Okay.
We can sort of group them. Multimedia computers or workstations, playback devices, input devices, output devices, audio gear, video gear, and storage.
Let's start with the hub, the computer. What makes a multimedia computer special? Is it just faster?
Well, speed is part of it, but it's more about handling the demands of multimedia creation.
Demands like what?
Working with big image files, 3D graphics, editing audio, and especially video that takes serious processing power, lots of RAM, good graphics.
Okay, so it needs more muscle.
Exactly. A multimedia workstation needs to be able to, pull in all sorts of media types, let you edit them smoothly, and then spit out the final result in whatever format you need. Maybe a high-res video, maybe something for print.
Right, it needs the horsepower for those heavy lifting tasks. Okay, so once we've made something, how do we experience it? Playback devices.
Precisely. The computer screen is one way, obviously, but there are loads of other devices built for specific viewing situations.
Like projectors.
Yep. Digital projectors. Also, smartphones, tablets, even e-readers can handle some multimedia formats.
Projectors seem to have gotten really good lately. And smaller.
They really have. Modern ones are super portable, image quality is often great, rivaling TVs.
Yeah.
Plus, high-end ones often have wireless connections, even AI tricks like automatically fixing the picture shape.
Keystone correction.
Yeah, and adjusting for the room environment makes them really flexible for presentations or just watching movies at home.
Cool. What about the device most of us have glued to our hands, smartphones?
Smartphones are, I mean, they're multimedia powerhouses now, aren't they?
For sure.
But the sources raise an interesting point because the screen is relatively small.
Yeah.
Maybe the benefit of super duper ultra high definition content gets a bit lost for some people. You just can't see all that fine detail.
I can see that.
So while they're amazing for convenience and being portable, there's still that desire for, a bigger screen, more immersive sound for a real high quality experience.
It's that trade-off again. Portability versus immersion. Okay, what about tablets? They seem to sit somewhere in the middle.
That's a really good way to put it. Tablets give you more screen space than a phone, but they're still really portable.
And they're getting powerful too, right?
Hugely. Their processing power has jumped up.
Hmm.
The sources suggested they can handle, over 70% of typical work tasks now, things people used to need a laptop for.
Wow, 70%?
Yeah. And with more work moving to the cloud, using apps online, tablets become even more capable.
Interesting how those lines between devices are blurring. And looking ahead, the metaverse, .xr, how does that fit into displaying multimedia?
Yeah, this is where things get really futuristic. Extended reality XR. That's the umbrella term for augmented reality, AR, virtual reality, VR, mixed reality, MR.
Okay.
These are basically creating totally new ways to interact with media through virtual interfaces.
Like wearing goggles.
Exactly. Things like Meta's Quest or Apple's Vision Pro, headsets that can either overlay digital stuff onto your view of the real world, that's AR,
Yeah.
or put you in completely virtual worlds, VR, or blend the two MR.
And AI ties into this.
Big time. AI is expected to be huge for actually creating the content, the experiences for these metaverse platforms much faster.
Feels like we're just at the beginning of that wave. Okay, back to basics slightly. To get multimedia into the computer in the first place, we need input devices.
We do. Keyboard and mouse are the defaults, obviously.
Yeah.
But for making multimedia, specialized tools can really help. Things like digital drawing pads.
For artists.
Yeah, for precise drawing or photo editing. Touch screens are becoming more common for direct interaction. And then there are dedicated multimedia controllers.
Let's break those down. Keyboards, they seem pretty standard. Anything new relevant here?
Well, the basic QWERTY layout hasn't changed much. But the tech under the keys has. You have mechanical keyboards.
Clicky ones.
Yeah, often clicky, lots of tactile feedback. Gamers love them, people who type a lot. Then membrane keyboards are usually quieter, cheaper.
Does it matter for multimedia?
It can. Accuracy and speed matter, especially if you're using lots of keyboard shortcuts in editing software. And ergonomic designs can help with comfort during long editing sessions.
Right. And the mouse. Still the main pointer for editors.
Oh, absolutely. That fine cursor control is vital for so many tasks. Detailed image work, making precise cuts in video.
Can't really beat it for that.
Not easily, though you do have ergonomic options now like vertical mice or trackballs, which some people find more comfortable, less strain over time.
Okay. Digital drawing pads, you mentioned artists. Essential for them.
Pretty much, yeah, for digital painting, illustration, serious photo retouching. Using a stylus on a pad feels much more natural, more intuitive than trying to draw with a mouse.
I can imagine.
What's interesting, though, is how tablets, like iPads with the pencil, are catching up. A lot of creatives now just use their tablet directly for drawing and editing.
More blurring lines. Seems versatility is the name of the game. What about touchscreens? So common now on phones, tablets, even some laptops.
Touchscreens offer that really direct, tactile interaction.
How so?
Well, imagine you're doing music production. You could use a multi-touch screen to physically move virtual faders on a mixer with several fingers at once.
Ah, like a real mixing desk.
Exactly. It can feel really intuitive, very hands-on for certain tasks. More laptops having them just adds another way to interact with creative software.
Makes sense, that direct manipulation.
Yeah.
Okay, and those multimedia controllers you mentioned, what do they actually do?
Their main benefit is efficiency. They give you physical controls like actual buttons, knobs, sliders, maybe a jog wheel
Right.
that are specifically linked to common functions in software like video editors or music programs.
So shortcuts, basically.
Kind of like physical shortcuts, yeah. Instead of digging through menus or remembering key combinations, you just push a button or turn a knob. It can seriously speed up your workflow, especially for repetitive tasks.
Okay, I can see how that would be useful. Right, so we've got stuff in, we've edited, now we need to get it out. Output devices.
Exactly. The main ones are screens for seeing it, graphics cards for actually creating the image for the screen, sound cards for hearing it, and printers if you need a physical copy.
Screens seem obvious, but you mentioned color correction earlier. Why is that such a big deal?
In professional work, especially video and photos, getting the color right is absolutely critical.
Right.
You need to make sure that what you see on your screen is what everyone else will see, or at least as close as possible, that the final product looks the way you intended it to across different devices. So you need high-quality screens that you can accurately calibrate.
Okay, so consistency is key.
Definitely. And looking forward, maybe things like smart glasses or VR headsets become alternative ways to output visuals, too.
Interesting thought. Okay, graphics cards. Gamers obsess over them, but how important are they for general multimedia, especially now with AI?
Oh, they are vital. Hugely important, and not just for gaming.
Really?
Yes. Their processors, the GPUs, are designed for parallel processing, which is perfect for things like 3D rendering, video effects, handling high-res images.
Okay, and with AI?
Yeah.
Even more critical. Generative AI, the stuff that creates images or video, leans heavily on the GPU and its dedicated memory, the VRAM.
Why?
It needs that power to do the complex math involved quickly. The sources actually recommend that if you're serious about future-proofing for AI multimedia work, you should aim for a high-end card with at least 12 gigabytes of VRAM.
12 GB or more. That's quite specific.
Yeah, it suggests that's becoming the baseline for handling demanding AI tasks efficiently.
Good to know. What about sound cards? Don't most computers just have audio built in?
They do, yes.
Yeah.
And for just listening to music or basic video calls, that integrated audio is usually fine.
They're not for creating.
For professional audio work like music production or serious sound editing, dedicated sound cards offer a significant step up.
How?
They have better quality converters, the chips that change analog sound signals to digital, AD, and back again.
Oh.
This means cleaner recordings and more accurate playback. They often support higher sampling rates too, capturing more detail in the sound. So, better fidelity in and out. Okay? And printers. Still kicking around.
It's still relevant, yeah, depending on what you need. Inkjet printers are generally better for high-quality color photos or graphics.
Right.
Laser printers are typically faster and more economical for lots of black and white text, like documents or flyers. The choice just depends on the final output you need.
Gotcha. Okay, we've covered visual output. Yeah. What about specific audio gear beyond the sound card?
Well, sound is obviously huge in multimedia, so you need ways to capture it and hear it well.
Microphones and speakers.
Exactly. And there's a massive range, from the tiny mic in your laptop or basic desktop speakers, all the way up to professional studio microphones and high-fidelity monitor speakers used in recording studios. Quality makes a big difference.
I bet. What about electronic keyboards, music keyboards?
Keyboards are interesting because they often do two jobs.
Oh, yeah.
One, they can make sounds themselves, like a standalone instrument. Two, they can act as MIDI controllers.
Ah, MIDI again.
Yeah.
The instructions.
Right. So you play the keyboard, but instead of making its own sound, it sends that MIDI data, the notes, timing, velocity, to your computer.
And the computer makes the sound.
Exactly. Using software instruments, virtual instruments inside your music software, it gives you access to a potentially unlimited range of sounds and lets you manipulate the performance after recording it.
So it's both an instrument and an interface.
Cool. Okay, shifting to video gear now.
The main tools for getting video in are digital cameras and increasingly just our mobile phones.
Right. Seems like everyone's a creator now.
It really does. There's a huge trend towards people just shooting their own content,
Yeah.
whether it's for social media, vlogging, or even professional use.
Makes sense.
And it's worth noting, while AI video generation is coming along,
Yeah.
sometimes just pointing camera at something is still the quickest and best way. If you just need a shot of your product, filming it might be faster than trying to generate it perfectly with AI.
Good point. Reality is sometimes easier. Exactly. And the cameras themselves keep improving panoramic modes, drones give amazing perspectives, and phones. Phones now shoot incredible resolution, have editing apps built in, can live stream. It's transformed things like news gathering and content creation.
Amazing what's in our pockets. Now, the sources mentioned a specific software tool, Edimacore. What was the point there?
Edimacore was brought up as an example of an accessible video editing tool. It was mentioned alongside another popular one that recently required payment.
Okay, so an alternative.
Yeah, and specifically how it integrates AI to help with video creation.
How does that work?
The basic idea outlined was You give it some text, maybe a script.
Right.
The AI helps generate a basic video structure from that text, maybe suggests clips or images, helps add subtitles automatically, and then you export it.
So AI assists the editing process, makes it maybe faster or easier for beginners?
That seems to be the idea. It's a practical example of how AI isn't just generating content from scratch, but also being built into the tools we use to simplify those workflows.
Makes sense. A helping hand in the editing suite.
Precisely. While you'd need to actually use it to see how well it works, its inclusion really highlights that trend AI making video production potentially quicker and available to more people.
Well, this has been quite the journey. We've really covered a lot of ground in this deep dive into multimedia.
We certainly have, from the basic definition, what it actually is, and those key features like synchronicity and interactivity.
Right, through to where the content comes from, including all the traditional ways and this a huge rise of AI.
Yep, the different file formats like JPG, MP3, even MIDI.
And that whole discussion about appreciating multimedia versus just letting AI create it all.
A really important point. And then
Mhm.
all the gear. Computers, screens, cameras, controllers.
The whole toolkit. It feels like we've got a much clearer picture now of how all these pieces fit together in this, well, this digital world we live in.
Hopefully, yes. A map through that sea of content you mentioned at the start.
So maybe a final thought for everyone listening as they go back to interacting with all this multimedia. With AI getting more and more powerful in creating this stuff, how do you think that will keep shaping things? Not just how media is made, but maybe how we perceive it, how we value it.
That's a great question to leave people with.
Like, what parts of human creativity, the human touch in multimedia, might actually become more important, more valued, precisely because AI can do so much of the grunt work, or even the creative work.
What makes something uniquely human in a world full of generated content?
Exactly, something to chew on. And, if any specific part of this discussion really caught your ear,
Yeah.
whether it was the software, the ethics of AI art, the tech specs of pro gear, definitely dig deeper into that. Explore what interests you most.
Absolutely. There's always more to learn.
Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive.